Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. I'm Nicole Kauffman, and for today's video I'm going to be sharing with you the must-haves that I really recommend for breastfeeding, especially in those first couple of weeks when it's really tough. So if you didn't already see last week's video, I actually shared my entire breastfeeding journey, all the struggles I had through the whole thing, so you can check that video out here. But for now, I'm just going to dive right in and share with you the things that I think you absolutely need to get through those first few weeks. So I have everything laid out here, so you may see me looking down as I'm picking things up. The first thing that I'm going to share is the Boppy. So this thing I used on and off. When you have a newborn, this thing is pretty much invaluable. You are going to need it, and I brought it to the hospital. Some people say you don't need it, some people say you do. I did use it a couple of times. The nurses sometimes showed me ways with different pillows there. So I actually used it on and off. There were several weeks in the very beginning that I didn't. I had used it the first week and then I kind of stopped, and I ended up, which this is the second thing I recommend, is having like a good blanket. I ended up using this. So I think you could really go either way. I love having this Boppy. I used it when he was a little older for tummy time, and then I also use it now, well, right before he started sitting up. I would use it kind of to prop around him. And even once they sit up, it's nice to have just in case they fall when you like may not have your eye on them every second. So the Boppy, I would say, is definitely useful, but even now, I will use a blanket or just like a small pillow, a throw pillow, to prop under his head or under my arm, or like to kind of ball up and just prop under them. I liked that because it was easier to like fit to like whatever you needed. The Boppy didn't necessarily always fit exactly right with me and like the chair that I was in. So either one, really, you need something to prop them up with and something to prop your arm on as you're feeding them, especially postpartum. You're gonna maybe be sore, your back might be sore. Mine was really sore, so I ended up needing a lot of support. The next thing that I will recommend, especially in the beginning, these are kind of obvious, are these reusable nursing pads. So I ended up getting two like off my registry. Someone bought the ones off my registry and somebody else just bought random ones, and I'm really glad I got both of them. I think the ones on my registry were these small ones, and I actually ended up liking these better. I'm gonna link both of them below. The small ones are okay. I feel like they slide around and they don't quite always stay in the right spot. So in the beginning, when you're really engorged, or like overnight when the baby starts sleeping longer at night, I really feel like these bigger ones are just more helpful, and I also feel like they're smoother on the back than this one's kind of more like pointy. So like when you're wearing it under a shirt, I feel like these are more discreet, and they also help just like shape everything up nicely. So I like them both. Honestly, I've used them both. I use these sometimes if I'm wearing a bra that like these can be too big in certain bras. But I like them both and recommend getting, I had both packs and I go through them all. I never use the disposable ones. I do like these better. Plus I feel like they do save you money, because especially struggling with an oversupply, I actually use them still at 6 months. Overnight. I don't really use them during the day anymore, but there was a long time that I was using them. Probably till like 4 or 5 months I was using them almost all the time. Thankfully things really even out after a while and you don't need them all the time. But yeah, I really recommend these. So the next thing for those first 2 weeks, especially, someone actually gifted me these. They were like their favorite things during the time. I actually had this nipple cream, which is, let's see if it'll focus. There we go. Earth Mama. And I used this in the hospital. This is the organic nipple butter, and I really love it. It smells really good. It smells like, let's see, probably bring back memories. Yeah, it smells like cocoa butter. It does remind me of those first few weeks. Reminds me of the hospital, which I actually enjoyed my experience. I have a video on that. But this was helpful for sure. But I feel like this, so this is the just Medela, like lanolin. This and these pads in conjunction, I felt like were like crucial. Those first couple days home, my nipples were so sore. They were like bleeding and they had blisters, and they were like, it was just really painful. I also was pumping. They had me pumping for different reasons, and so these are like these gel pads that you kind of just like place over your nipple in between feedings, and it was just like so helpful. If you know, if you follow my channel, follow my vlogs, I am all about natural things, so I loved having this one on hand, and I loved using this as much as possible. I've done a little bit of research on lanolin. It's just wool wax, and there's not really a ton of other ingredients in this, but I don't really know much about it. So I really needed it in the beginning. So my whole philosophy is as much as you can use natural things, but if you need more, that's okay. So I try really hard to avoid medication and use natural things, but if I need medication, then I need it. And you can't like beat yourself up over it. So I really liked both of these, and the first 2 weeks, this only comes with 4 and they're reusable. For some reason, I don't remember. I think they last 24 hours. So there was 2 days that it was really bad. So honestly, I'd recommend getting 2 packs of these because I wish I had them sooner. But having one, I did stretch them out and I started using them pretty late. So I highly recommend them. So I'm going to include all these links down below. The next thing that I would say is super important in the beginning, I'm trying to decide out of all of these goodies, are these like milk catchers. So I think I had registered for this one, but ended up getting these. And I'm so glad that I have both. I ended up buying this one later because I had the oversupply, and sometimes these would like fill up and they're like kind of like suctioned onto you, and like it would fill up as high as it could. So when I took it off, I'd have to be like over a sink. But you can actually save this milk too, which is awesome because in the beginning, especially if you have a lot of milk, like this ended up filling up sometimes. I forget how much this holds. This holds like 3 or 4 ounces, I think. So this pack comes with 2. They're called Mommy's Love. I think they're called boob shells, honestly. And you can I've heard it's helpful because like if in the beginning when your nipple's really sore to like wear these just like in your bra, and like if you do have a lot of like leaking, instead of the nursing pads, you can just stick these in. I feel like they're a little too like hard and concave for like, they're not flat enough necessarily. I wouldn't necessarily want to, and this gets a little sore if you have it on too long. So, but for when you're feeding, like put it on the other side, I highly recommend it. Or if you're home and you are leaking a lot, like these are great. And then this one, way more awkward to like stick in your bra somehow, but super helpful, and I loved it. And I ended up saving so much milk with these, like ounces and ounces and ounces were stored away. And then along that note too is you've probably seen one of these if you've done any research on breastfeeding. This can be called a Haaka. I actually found this one, it's the Bumblebee brand. I think it's honestly the same thing. I feel like it worked really well for me, and it's a lot cheaper. So this, it comes with this lid or this little stopper. I feel like when I was in the middle of like trying to hold him and switch arms, like I would just stick the stopper in because it is top heavy and it can fall over. But you just essentially like, I guess like I would just like stick it on like this, but if you're having trouble, the way you're supposed to do is fold it back, like suction it on to your nipple, and then like fold it over, and it like suctions on really good. And the pressure actually does work sort of like a pump. So when I was really struggling with oversupply, I did stop using this for a short time because it does get more milk out than you normally would. So this holds 4 ounces. This would oftentimes fill up completely for me. But you can get bigger ones, I think. But yeah, this is the Bumblebee brand. I have heard great things about both brands, and I highly recommend it. So this is definitely a must-have in those first couple of months, honestly. It can help you save a lot of extra milk. So the other thing that, just one last note, we got these like from the hospital. They came with the pumping stuff they gave us just to have, like, I would just sometimes, if I had like, because I had a forceful letdown and like oversupply in the beginning, but like when my letdown would happen, I would just use this. Or like if you need to like hand express a little bit before to like kind of let that fast flow out, just having some sort of container, really anything. I kept these and kept them clean so that I could save the milk. I would add it, like I would just end up like pouring it in here and sticking this in the fridge until I had time to put it away. But just having some sort of container, any sort of container to put your milk in. And a lot of times I was lazy and I'd let this just sit out by the bed and just throw it away. But it was just nice to have something. And so the other thing that I really recommend, which I don't have the actual thing because it needs to be washed, I use this every single morning. This is amazing. So I don't know why I didn't get this sooner. I hate, like, for some reason it stresses me out to like hook up the whole pump, the electric pump, and like pump one side or like whatever. I don't know why. But in the morning, especially once he started sleeping through the night, I really only need to feed him on one side because there's so much milk. And I know I could like get my body to make less by the morning, but I really actually like, it takes like five 5 to 10 minutes max, and I usually do it like either when I'm feeding him or when I'm done and he's just like sitting and playing. But this pump is just like a hand pump, so literally it can just sit on your thing and then you just like hold it there and pump. I had not even seen this until probably like 2.5 months ago, and I was like, I'm tired of like getting my whole pump out. It's the same amount of pieces to wash, but for some reason it just feels less stressful to me. So I really like this brand. I ended up getting, where's the box? These bags, which actually go with this brand. I had gotten these a while ago. I think I got these at my shower. So I ended up just using these for what I get in the morning. So I get like a couple of ounces, like probably like 4 to 5 ounces every morning. That's definitely slowing down now, but for a while I was just getting so much in the mornings, and it was really helpful. And that in conjunction with like this, it's really nice to be able to store them. The last thing I guess that I would really recommend is some sort of caddy. I picked this one specifically, which I will try and find a link to, because this big section right here actually fits my pump. So I thought this would just be like a pump caddy, but I had this right next to my chair that I fed him at, and I'd stick like water bottles in here. I'd stick my headphones and like chargers. I mean, all of these things were in here pretty much. And I have a bunch of random stuff that I got at like the hospital that's still in here. But I really recommend having one of these. I have pens, I have like, I don't know, I had everything in here in the beginning because I pretty much lived in this chair feeding the baby. But having one of those is so helpful with your pump, especially because you can like take that wherever you need to. You just pick it up and take it with you. And it's just something that can hold all of the random stuff that is really helpful to have next to you. So all of these things, like I'd wash this and I'd put it right in there because, you know, when you're like baby's crying and you're going to grab them to feed them, you completely forget that you need to get this, or you need to get these boob shells, or whatever you need. So it was really helpful to have that and just to try and keep everything there. So I actually usually try to keep a pacifier in there too, just in case. Okay, so I'm sitting here editing this video and I realized 3 things that I totally forgot that I think are completely essential for breastfeeding, especially in those early days. The first thing that I would really recommend is this little like nifty light. There's a whole bunch of them. I think this was one of the cheaper ones that I found on Amazon. I'll link it below. But you literally just like hold on to this thing and it lights up, and there's a whole bunch of different settings you can go through and it changes colors. But in the middle of the night, like this is actually really, really dim in a dark room. And this was like, we had this on almost 24/7 during the night in those first few weeks. And I still do use it for the dream feed. Or if we're ever in there in the middle of the night, if the night's not going well. And this was a must. It helps to like not have a huge bright light, 1 for the baby, but 2 for, I felt like for us, we were just tired and just needed that dim lighting. So this light I would say is an absolute must. I absolutely loved having it and still use it. The next thing I want to recommend is a sleep nursing bra. So these were amazing. I have this one here. Kind of hard to see it, but it's just one that like, it's like this cottony thing and you can just kind of like pull it down really easy. I wear this all the time at home. I'll link one similar below. There's a whole bunch of different ones. I know Target has some, and Amazon has a bunch as well, but they were super comfortable and just super nice to wear like at night or during the day if you're just at home. They're just so easy and so comfortable. And then the last thing that I wanted to share is some sort of like big cup for water. I loved having the straw, so I think I got this one at Walmart. I'll link one that I found on Amazon, but there's one at Walmart. I mean, it's essentially like the Yeti, so you can get that, but there's a lot of like cheaper versions. They sent us home with a huge 1 liter cup that was similar to this from the hospital. I don't know if they had those at your hospital, but it's just like a plastic cup with a straw, and it was perfect because you're so thirsty when you're breastfeeding. And it was like a lot of water, so it would be really great. But that started tasting like plastic after a while, and I was like, I don't really know what this is made of, and the quality of this cup, it's not probably meant to last a long time. So I ended up investing in one of these, and I use it all the time. I actually got a handle with mine, which if I can find that, I'll link it too, because it was like so much easier just to like pick it up that way. I do find these are top heavy, but they're all designed like this for some reason. So yeah, a big cup. I really recommend those. So, okay, back to the video. So these are all the things that I would highly recommend for breastfeeding in general. Some of them I only used maybe the first week or 2, but most of them I was still using all the way up until 4 months at least. And then some things like the pillows or the blankets I still use. But I highly recommend these. If you have any questions about any of these items, definitely let me know in the comments below. Or if you have anything you would recommend that I didn't share, let me know in the comments. I'd love to know what was helpful to you. Stick around. I'm going to be sharing some more info on some of the things I talked about in my breastfeeding journey. I'm going to go into more detail about some of those things. So make sure you subscribe so you can see those videos, and I will see you guys next time.